All right. Hey guys, it's Heather here with Underwater Panther. So, I am continuing on my series here dealing with identity capture, belief, and morality. So, I'm going to attempt to film this. It's probably going to be another hour. I am many multiple hours in this evening, and I want to get this video done because then we will be moving out of theory and into containment. I introduced the astro-psychological personality types in the last video, and so that was really exciting, and that's what I will be doing with this video topic as well this evening. So anyways, um the work I do here sits at the intersection of moral cognition, belief systems, authority, identity formation, shadow integration, and power dynamics. I study how human minds construct meaning and what happens psychologically, relationally, and culturally when belief replaces thinking, identity replaces conscience, and performance replaces integrity. This is not a political channel. This is not a spiritual bypass channel. And this is not a call out space. This is a systems level analysis of how different minds carry different truth, responsibility, and moral weight under pressure, and why modern culture is breaking down so fast along identity lines. This series exists because we are living through a moment where moral authority has collapsed, institutions no longer hold trust, and individuals are being asked to carry ethical responsibility without the tools to do so. And the result is confusion, polarization, projection, burnout, and identity capture. So I'm going to do a recap of the prior videos in this series. I do have a playlist organized here on this channel, so do check the playlist out. It is in order. All right, so before we get into this video, this is the 7th video in the series. I want to briefly anchor where we've been because each video is a structural layer, not a standalone opinion. So my hair is driving me insane. I'm walking around in the wind. All right, so video 1, and I do greatly apologize. My last video, as soon as I put the archetypes, my key card, my astro-psychological personality key cards on the screen here in OBS. I'm using OBS Studio. I am using Hotspot. I do not have the internet. And so it totally glitched out and my face was frozen for the last, I don't know, 30 minutes or so. The information is still there. The information is still good. You can still see me. You can still see the key cards. But unfortunately, my face didn't go along with what I was saying. So I'm going to do one personality at a time to see if that will help. So I do apologize. All right, so video 1, why American politics is acting like religion. Now, that is the video that went viral, and that is the reason why I created this series. So, we started by mapping how political identities have taken on the psychological function of religion, complete with morality, purity test, heresy, ritual language, and social punishment. Not because people are stupid, but because meaning and belonging vacuums demand to be filled. Video 2, called When Belief Replaces Thinking, we explored how belief systems shortcut cognition. When belief fuses with identity, disagreement feels like annihilation and thinking becomes dangerous. This is where identity capture begins. Video 3 was called Faith, Shadow, and the Collapse of Moral Authority. We examined what happens when institutions fail to metabolize their own shadow. When authority avoids accountability, individuals are left holding moral contradictions they were never meant to carry alone. Video 4, it was called Moral Cognition, Why Different Minds Experience Truth Differently. This is where we introduce the idea that moral experience is not uniform. Different cognitive architectures experience truth through different channels: logic, emotion, loyalty, consequence, pattern, and meaning. This matters more than ideology. Video 5 was titled Why Polarization Fails Integration. We broke down why polarization feels stabilizing in the short term but destroys integration over time. Polarization simplifies complexity, but it externalizes shadow instead of integrating it. Video 6 was called Why Some Minds Resist Identity Capture Naturally. This was the structural pivot. We established that resistance to identity capture is not virtue or intelligence, it is the cognitive architecture. Some minds maintain separation between belief and self, others fuse belief to identity as a nervous system regulation strategy. So that brings us here to this video 7. And so let's talk about why it is necessary. Video 6 answered why identity capture slides off some minds. Video 7, this one answers something deeper and more uncomfortable. Why does morality feel heavier for some people than others? Yes, so that's wonderful. All right, so which archetypes out of the 12 personality types do you think holds the most moral weight? What's the first 3 out of the 12? All right, I'm interested to see if anyone guesses any of those right. All right, so why do some people feel crushed by ethical responsibility while others feel almost untouched by it? Why do some carry guilt, conscience, and consequence internally, while others externalize blame, defer authority, or moralize without weight? This is not about goodness. This is not about superiority. It is not about who is right. It is about how moral weight is distributed across different psychological architectures or personality types. And right now, we are living in a culture that rewards moral signaling without consequence, encourages outsourcing responsibility to groups, punishes nuance, and confuses certainty with integrity. When moral weight is misallocated, societies fracture. The core question of this video: why does responsibility land differently in different people? Why do some people feel morally implicated even when no one is watching, experience conscience as internal pressure, carry ethical consequences long after others move on, while others feel moral relief once a group approves, experience ethics as external rules, or carry certainty without introspection? The answer is not ideology. The answer is archetypal architecture. So what we are doing differently in this video: we are going to break down all 12 archetypal structures not as personality stereotypes, but as moral load-bearing systems. So the prior video dealt more with the thinking and who is more independent in their thinking. So in this one, for each archetype, we will examine how moral responsibility is processed, where conscience lives, internal versus external, how belief interacts with identity under pressure, the specific shadow risk when moral weight is avoided or distorted, and what integration actually looks like for the archetype. This is not about labeling yourself, it's about understanding why certain people feel morally exhausted while others feel morally unburdened, and why both can become dangerous when unconscious. Why this information is imperative now. Oops. I just realized I forgot to integrate some information at the end of this video, but I'm rolling with it. All right. This is probably going to be an hour long anyways. There's always another day. All right, so why this information is imperative now. We are in a moment where institutions no longer absorb ethical complexity. Identity groups demand loyalty over integrity. Individuals are being asked to pick a side instead of develop a conscience. In this environment, people who carry heavy moral weight burn out. People who carry little moral weight dominate discourse, and both misunderstand each other profoundly. Without this framework, we can keep pathologizing people instead of understanding their architecture. This video is not meant to tell you who is good. It's meant to help you understand who carries responsibility and how we stop misplacing blame, power, and expectation. I just realized something. I gotta write things down or else it'll escape me. This is important and probably a whole video in itself. Give me one moment. I always make connections, and if I don't write it down, I lose it, kind of like a dream. If you don't immediately write your dream down, you lose it. All right. That would probably make a good video, actually. All right, so this video, why certain archetypes carry moral weight differently. So the lens here is responsibility, conscience, and ethical load. Core question, why does morality feel heavier for some people than others? All right, so orientation, why this question refuses to go away. So this is a moment most people carry heavy conscience who carry heavy conscience recognizes early they recognize it early in life even if they never name it. It's the moment you realize that something feels wrong inside you. Not because someone told you it was wrong, not because you might get in trouble, but because your body, your mind, your nervous system registers misalignment before you have language for it. And when you notice something else, other people don't seem to feel this. They can justify, they can move on, they can rationalize, they can say it's not that deep, or everyone does it, or you have to be realistic. And something inside you quietly asks, why does this feel heavier for me? This video exists because that question is not a personality quirk. It's not weakness, it's not virtue signaling, and it's not moral superiority. It's structural. Morality is not experienced evenly across human consciousness. Responsibility does not land in the same place for everyone. And pretending that it does is one of the quiet engines behind burnout, resentment, relational collapse, institutional decay, and identity confusion. All right, so opening orientation, what this video is not. Before we truly begin, what am I at? 12 minutes? Before we truly begin, I want to orient the frame because this topic is easily distorted. This video is not about who is more moral. It is not about superiority, purity, or virtue signaling. And it is not about blaming people who experience morality differently. This video is about load-bearing capacity, about why some people feel ethically responsible as a constant internal pressure, while others experience morality as a contextual, relational, situational, or even optional. All right, so if video 6, my prior video, was about identity boundaries, this video is about conscience architecture. And the key distinction we're exploring is this. Morality does not land evenly across human psyches because responsibility is processed through structure, not intention. We need to separate two things that modern culture constantly collapses into one. Morality is what someone believes is right or wrong. Moral load is how much responsibility their system absorbs when something is wrong. These are not the same. You can believe deeply in ethics and still externalize responsibility. You can care about justice and feel no internal consequence when violating it. You can espouse values fluently and still feel light, unburdened, and untouched by ethical fallout. Conversely, you can feel crushed by responsibility even when you didn't cause the harm. You can feel obligated without being asked. You can feel the weight of consequences before they happen. You can restrain yourself not because someone is watching, but because you are. This difference is not explained by intelligence, education, or goodness. It is explained by how conscience is wired. All right, so the master principle. Morality is not just a value system, it is a weight bearing function of the psyche. Some archetypes internalize responsibility automatically, others distribute it externally, others metabolize it rationally, others discharge it situationally. None of these are inherently bad, but when people with different moral load capacities are placed inside these same systems, families, institutions, relationships, and cultures, misunderstanding becomes inevitable, especially under pressure. Let me take a quick water break. I don't know where my playlist went. It's off into the radio at this point. Online. All right. So, a critical distinction of values versus load. So, most moral discussions collapse two very different things: what someone believes is right, how much responsibility their nervous system can carry. You can have strong values and still externalize responsibility. You can have quiet values and still carry crushing moral weight. This is why some people lose sleep over minor ethical breaches, feel responsible for outcomes they didn't cause, and struggle to just let it go. While others compartmentalize easily, rationalize harm as necessity, and move on without internal residue. This is not hypocrisy by default, it is architectural difference. Moral weight versus moral signaling. Another essential clarification. Some archetypes signal morality, others carry it. Moral signaling is outward facing: language, alignment, posture, and declaration. Moral weight is internal facing: conscience, restraint, self regulation, and cost absorption. These two are often confused and sometimes inversely correlated, which is why the loudest moral voices are not always the most burdened ones. So, conscience is not an idea, it's a function. One of the most damaging modern myths is that conscience is simply a belief system, something you can adapt, discard, or update like software. It isn't. Conscience is a regulatory function in the psyche. It governs restraint, responsibility, foresight, and accountability. I always think of Jiminy Cricket, the little the little cricket in your head, your conscience. For some people, conscience is internalized. It operates automatically, often unconsciously. It creates pressure even in private. For others, conscience is externalized. It activates through context, authority, relationship, or consequence. Neither structure makes someone evil or virtuous by default, but they produce radically different lived experiences of morality. So, why this matters now more than ever. In previous eras, external structures absorbed some ethical weights: religion, community, reputation, ritual, elders, and consequence. These acted as containers. They held responsibility outside the individual. But in a fragmented, hyper individualized, identity driven culture, those containers have collapsed. Responsibility has not disappeared, it has redistributed unevenly. And the people with internalized moral load are now carrying far more than their share. I can't stand this music. I gotta give me 1 second. All right, that's absolutely terrible. All right, give me one moment. I like to listen to music when I'm doing this. Playlist. What do I do? Put it at the top. I want an old playlist. Where are you? There it is. Okay. All right. There we go. Perfect. Hopefully it's not going to blast me. All right. Moral signaling versus moral carrying. This brings us to a distinction that explains a great deal of modern confusion. Some archetypes signal morality, other archetypes carry morality. Moral signaling is invisible. It shows up as language, posture, affiliation, declarations, outrage, and identity. Moral carrying is invisible. Moral signaling is visible. Moral carrying is invisible. It shows up as a restraint, delayed gratification, internal conflict, consistency, repair, and accountability when no one is watching. A culture obsessed with signaling, the the visible, you can see it externally. A culture obsessed with signaling will often reward the loudest ethics and exploit the quietest ones. As an introvert hardcore, I understand this in every freaking realm. A culture, okay, so and this is how people who feel morality deeply end up by doing the unpaid emotional, ethical, and relational labor for everyone else. Boy, are the I'm just thinking of a different realm. People are really calling out the emotional load bearing when it comes to relationships. All right, morality is as gravity, not a rule book. For some archetypes, morality feels like gravity. It pulls inward, it limits movement, it creates consequence before action, it adds weight to choice. For others, morality feels like a map. It guides when consulted, it can be rerouted, and it can be contextualized. This is not about right and wrong people. It is about where responsibility lives. All right, so now I'm going to get into the archetypes themselves, and I'm really nervous for my freaking OBS to glitch out. It's so frustrating. And actually, I just realized something else. I exited them all out. All right, so this is going to be fun and exciting. Like, what the heck? I prepared myself, but I didn't, per usual. All right, let's get it. My hair is driving me nuts. I got my freaking bay door open. It's blowing in here. It's like literally snowing right now. I don't even know if you can see that or not, but it is. All right, so we're transitioning into the archetypes themselves. So with that frame set, we're going to move archetype by archetype. Not to judge, not to rank, but to map how moral weight is experienced, distorted, avoided, or integrated across different minds. Because if we don't understand how responsibility actually functions in human psychology, we will keep demanding accountability from the wrong places and wondering why nothing changes. All right, so let's begin. Moral weight distribution. We're not ranking virtue here. We're mapping where responsibility lands. All right, so group one. I'm going to actually use my phone on top of my 20 screens in front of me. All right, where the heck is that? Give me a second. I do apologize. Holy crap. It's been a long night. All right, here we go. Nope, that wasn't it either. I can't remember which one I just freaking clicked on. There it is. Okay. Okay, here we are. All right, so this is the first group. Okay, so the archetypes and moral weight. So this is the first group. The first group, we are talking about Capricorn, ISTJ, Virgo, ESFJ, and Scorpio, ENFP, and Aquarius, INTJ. Oh, I didn't break them off. Okay, so those are the first couple ones. And I can't bring them up on the screen like I'd like to because my freaking computer is going to freaking glitch out. And it probably will anyways. All right, so the first group, we're talking about Capricorn, Virgo, Scorpio. All right. So morality lives inside the self. These archetypes experience ethics as personal responsibility, not group alignment. The four groups, so there's four different groups. So before we talk about individuals, we need to name something larger. These groups are functions inside a moral ecosystem. Every healthy society needs all four. Every unhealthy society over rewards one and punishes the other. Identity capture happens when the ecosystem loses balance. So, group one, structural resistance. So, these are the most structurally resistant. All right, so what this group represents internal coherence as the primary regulator of identity within this moral lens. These archetypes are organized around structure, pattern, consequence, internal logic, and long term coherence. For them, belief is external to the self. They do not experience beliefs as who they are, they experience beliefs as tools, hypotheses, or systems that must prove themselves over time. That's why identity capture struggles to take hold. So, what their nervous system is doing, their nervous systems regulate through distance, analysis, containment, and time. They calm down by stepping back, not by belonging. Belonging does not equal safety for them. Coherence equals safety. Why capture fails here? Identity capture requires fusion. If this belief is questioned, I am threatened. These archetypes don't fuse belief with self. So questioning doesn't feel like annihilation. So capture slides off because there's nothing for it to stick to. Their cultural role, they function as system auditors, boundary holders, reality testers, long term thinkers, and moral engineers. They prevent collapse by asking, does this actually work? What happens later? And what breaks if this becomes law? Their shadow cost, because they resist fusion here, they risk isolation, emotional detachment, moral loneliness, and withdrawal disguised as neutrality. When unintegrated, they don't resist capture, they opt out of humanity, which creates its own harm. All right, so now we're going to start with Capricorn, and I'm going to have to actually pull these up one by one because I exited them all out when I got frustrated with my last video glitching. All right, so Capricorn. Where are you? There it is. All right, Cappy. I can actually make it bigger. I'm going to do one by one. I hope this doesn't glitch. I do apologize if it does. All right, so Capricorn, the consequence carrier. Now, I am a stellium in Capricorn, my moon, Saturn, Neptune, Uranus, midheaven. So most of the percentage of my personality is Capricorn or ISTJ. And I can tell you, I can absolutely feel this moral weight every minute of every day. It is very heavy, very heavy. So I certainly understand Capricorns. So the consequence carrier, morality processed through time, outcome, and accountability, feels responsible for systems continuing to function, often carries guilt for failures they didn't cause. Strength is reliability, ethical endurance, shadow, emotional repression, and self punishment. Integration path, learning that responsibility should not be self erasure. Capricorn, the weight of consequence. So Capricorn does not experience, or ISTJ does not experience morality emotionally first. Capricorn experiences morality through time. Hello, Saturn. So what happens if this continues? Who pays later? What collapses if no one holds the line? Capricorn often carries responsibility not because they want to, but because they see the cost of neglect before others do. They sense downstream consequences, structural failure, and entropy. This makes Capricorn dependable, ethical, and stabilizing, aka the goat. It also makes them chronically overburdened. They often end up holding systems together that were never meant to be carried by one person. Families, workplaces, relationships, and futures. So the shadow, repression, rigidity, self-punishment, and moral isolation. Integration, discerning which responsibilities are structural and which are inherited or projected. So the boundary elders, what they're also known for, moral weight profile, consequential conscience. Capricorn carries moral weight over time. They ask who pays later if no one holds this. Strengths, discipline, ethical endurance, structural responsibility, and protect systems. Vulnerabilities, overburdening, authority fusion, and emotional repression. Very much so. Shadow, punitive morality, rigidity, and martyrdom through duty. Integration, stewardship over control, humanized structure, and the integrated Saturn is compassionate authority. So I'm not going to break down the cognitive functions here or each of the planets. That's a whole different video and a whole different 200-page book in itself. All right, so I'm going to take that down, and then we are going to go to Virgo. All right, here's Virgo. I'm going to make it bigger. All right, Virgo. The moral precisionist. Ethics processed through accuracy and harm reduction. Feels responsible for errors others overlook. Deep sensitivity to unintended consequences. And you can feel highly controlled in like OCD ways with Capricorn and Virgo for sure. It's a thing. They only care about consequences, and they don't want you to take them down a bad path and screw up their freaking future. Strength, integrity, ethical refinement. Shadow, chronic self-criticism, and paralysis. Integration path, tolerating imperfection without abandoning standards. So both of these people have very high standards, very perfectionistic, and very perfectionistic, actually. Virgo, the ethics of harm reduction. Virgo experiences morality through precision, or the ESFJ. They notice what others gloss over: small inconsistencies, tiny lies, minor inefficiencies that snowball into harm. Virgo often carries guilt for errors no one else even perceives. This is why they struggle to relax morally. Once something is seen, it cannot be unseen, and they have very good memories too. Virgo is not moral because they are judgmental. They are moral because they are attentive. Hello, Mercury ruler. Shadow paralysis, obsessive self critique, and moral perfectionism. Integration, accepting that care does not require control. Virgo, the integrity technician. Moral weight profile, precision based conscience. Virgo carries moral weight through error detection. They feel responsible for fixing what others ignore. How moral weight lands. Virgo feels ethics as this could be done better and harm could be reduced. Strengths, strong accountability, high ethical craftsmanship, notices subtle harm, and natural repair instincts. Yes, they are pretty crafty, actually. They can be. Depends. Vulnerabilities, perfectionism, self blame, and chronic dissatisfaction. Huge. Shadow, hypercritical, coldness as defense, and moral rigidity. Integration, replace perfection with integrity. Allow human margins. Integrated Mercury equals clarity with compassion. Who do you think the third one is that holds the top 3 moral weight bearing? Who do you think it is? Who do you think? I'm sure that this will actually surprise a lot of people. All right. Sorry, this is going to be a slower process because I exited them out when I was having technical freaking issues. All right. So, uno momento. All right, so we've got Scorpio or the ENFP. Third on our list here of moral weight bearing. All right, so Scorpio, the ethical absolutist. Morality experienced as truth or betrayal, so they are very black and white. Once committed, carries immense moral gravity. Feels responsible for exposing corruption. Strength, depth, moral courage. Shadow, extremes, and scorched earth ethics. Integration path, allowing complexity without dilution. It's a contextual thing for Scorpio. It's very, I'm not going to go down that road right now. Stay on topic. All right. So Scorpio, morality as truth or betrayal. Scorpio or ENFPs does not experience ethics lightly. For Scorpio, morality is existential. Truth is not an option, it is a bond. So you do see introverted feeling parents. They feel extremely, extremely responsible here. So truth is not an option, it is a bond. When Scorpio commits, they commit fully, emotionally, psychologically, and morally. Betrayal, deception, or hypocrisy registers as a rupture of reality itself. This creates fierce loyalty and fierce intolerance for dishonesty. Shadow is absolutism, scorched earth ethics, and moral extremism, integration, holding complexity without abandoning truth. Scorpio, the absolutist seer. Moral weight profile is existential conscience. Scorpio carries moral weight totally. Truth violations feel like reality fractures. How moral weight lands. For Scorpio or ENFPs, betrayal is not contextual. It is ontological. Their strengths are immune to surface morality, sees power dynamics clearly, holds taboo truth, and deep loyalty. Vulnerabilities, all or nothing ethics, inflexibility, revenge orientation. They will wait their lifetime and seek extreme revenge. With the FI parent comes a lot of emotional baggage, and they have an extremely good memory, and most of their memory is based on emotions and feelings, FYI. And they are the warrior. Look at Mars and Pluto. All right. Integration, practice proportion, hold truth without annihilation. They're like a freaking dormant volcano. They're like a freaking atomic bomb. All right, sorry, I'm gonna stop. Okay. Hold truth without annihilation. Integrated Pluto equals transformation without destruction. And I do have a 500-page book on Scorpio, and I am one of my main priorities here on this channel this year is to get through my Scorpio book. I do have a Scorpio series, and I'm going through my Scorpio book. So if you are a Scorpio, I know you feel extremely misunderstood. And if you want to learn more about yourself, or you are someone that loves a Scorpio and wants to understand your Scorpio better, whether that be your boss or lover, whoever, transparent, certainly look in the description box below and you can purchase and download that ebook. It is 500 pages. You are not going to find a more in-depth book on Scorpio. I can promise you that. All right. So, and if you can, let me know, email me, and I will give it to you for free. All right. Strength and I'm making a bet with Scorpio. I can't. I've never lost a $50 bet, and yeah, I'm making a bet with Scorpio right now. Hilarious. All right, so strength, integrity beyond pressure. They like to gamble. That's a thing. Shadow, detachment, and moral aloofness. Integration path, remaining human while staying principles. And they don't like to lose. What am I doing? I'm sorry. I'm going in I'm getting cocky. I'm sorry. Aquarius here. We're moving on to freaking Aquarius. Gosh darn you, Scorpio. All right, let's get you out of here. See ya. Peace. All right. I need to get a hold of myself. I'm an Aquarian mind. Sorry. All right, let's go. Let's go, Aquarius, number 4. I've got hard rock in my ear. It's amping me up too, on top of the personality and being so excited to be able to do this. I'm really sorry if like my freaking screen is glitching out. I need to get the internet, and it's gonna be crazy probably because I'm out in BFE and I don't know how. I don't know if we have the lines for it. I don't know. I haven't had the internet in freaking like 15 years. So yeah, hotspot. All right, so Aquarius INTJ, the systemic conscience. Moral weight tied to principles, not people. It's not the point, it's the principle. That is one of my most favorite quotes ever. It's not the point, it's the principle. All right. Feels responsible for future harm prevention, will sacrifice belonging to preserve coherence. Strengths, integrity beyond pressure. Shadow, detachment, and moral aloofness. Integration path, remaining human while staying principled. So we are still in the first group right now. Aquarius experiences morality as principle. They feel responsible for coherence, for not participating in systems that exploit, distort, or fragment, for refusing lies even when everyone else agrees to them. Aquarians or INTJs often feels ethical pressure long before harm becomes visible. Hello, NI, introverted intuition hero, very, very far out, future focused, and they will see things coming because they're crazy researchers and they can pattern recognize unlike anyone else. All right, so Aquarians often feels ethical pressure long before harm becomes visible, which can make them appear detached or contrarian. They are not cold, they are early. Shadow, emotional distance, isolation, and moral fatigue. Integration, remaining relational without compromising principles. So the system breaker, Aquarius, moral weight profile, systemic conscience. Aquarius carries moral weight for patterns, not people. How moral weight lands, necessarily. Okay. They feel ethical pressure when systems distort reality or coherence identity. Strengths resistant to groupthink, high structural intelligence, long-term ethical vision, and decentralized thinking. Hello, Age of Aquarius. Praise, whatever you praise. Praise, hallelujah. Decentralized thinking. I'm here for this age. Aquarian age, y'all. Welcome. This is just the beginning. All right, vulnerabilities, emotional detachment. Hello, quirkiness. Vulnerabilities, emotional detachment, moral fatigue, and isolation. They are extremely introverted, FYI. Shadow, cynicism, above it all posture, and withholding compassion. Integration, stay embodied. Stay embodied. They live an outer body experience at all times. They are not in their body. They're in their head. They're in the 12th dimension. They're floating around in their freaking ideas, and so staying embodied is extremely important in this age. I don't want to go off on a tangent. We're in the age of Aquarius. We need to be embodied. We need to eat healthy. We need to exercise. We need to get out in nature. Um we have a ton of information. We are all sifting through tons of information. Tons of information is getting leaked out. We are like tearing through each of the pillars of society and understanding what is really going on. That is very jarring. That is extremely jarring. So, for Aquarius individuals and the collective age that we're in, stay embodied as much as possible. Connect principle to people, integrated Uranus, humane reform. So, they are the rebellions without a cause, they are the innovators within systems. All right, so now we are finally in group 2. I'm gonna take that off here. What am I at? 45 minutes. All right, so now we are in group 2. I'm trying to exit this out. All right, group 2. Who do we have in group 2? I can't remember. My brain is fried at the moment. All right, so we have Cancer, Libra, Pisces, and I think Aries. I can't remember if I put Aries in 2 or 3, but anyways. All right, so relational moral load. Harmonizers. So group 2, these are relational moral load harmonizers. Morality lives between people here. These archetypes experience ethics through impact on others, not abstract rules. So group 2, conditional resistance. Resist until fear arises. What this group represents. Oh my gosh, I'm deleting this right now. I have a cooking oops, I'm not sharing it. I have a cooking freaking video in my playlist, and it's been here for probably 6 years. How do I remove it? Maybe that's why I never removed it. What the hell? I can't remove it from this playlist for some freaking reason. Alright, whatever. You gotta be kidding me. I can't figure out how to delete it from my playlist, my musical playlist here. Alright, what the heck? I'm sorry. All right, so what this group represents. This group represents agency, meaning, and identity through expression. These archetypes are built to act, inspire, initiate, explore, and lead emotionally or symbolically. They resist identity capture by default within this morality portion until threat overwhelms regulation. They don't fuse easily, but they do react. What their nervous system is doing. Their nervous systems regulate through movement, expression, momentum, and purpose. They need to do something to feel okay. Under stress, stillness feels like danger. Why capture sometimes succeeds here. Identity capture, morally, capture enters through urgency, moral panic, validation, big ideas, now or never framing. Fear collapses their reflection window. They don't fuse because they crave belonging. They fuse because action feels safer than uncertainty. Their cultural role. They function as initiators, motivators, storytellers, cultural catalysts, and morale engines. They get things moving when systems stagnate. Their shadow cost. When unintegrated, they become reactive, performative, ideological, especially with Cancer, the TI inferior. Sorry. They have no common sense. Cancers are so intelligent. They're good at test taking. They're good in school. They're good with education. Their common sense is a little bit anyways. So righteous without reflection. They can accidentally turn movements into emotional stampedes. All right, so we've got Cancer. Let me pull Cancer up. I really hope I'm not glitching out. I really have to get the internet going here. All right, so Cancer. or ENFJ. All right, Cancer or ENFJ, the emotional steward. Morality tied to protection and care. Feels responsible for others' emotional safety. Hello, extroverted failing hero with the moon, ruling moon. Guilt driven when harmony breaks. They're extremely guilted and shamed, guilted more so than most. They're very empathetic. Strength, loyalty, and care ethics. Shadow enabling, fear based morality. Integration path, boundaries without abandonment, self erasure. Cancer, relational responsibility. Cancer experiences morality through emotional impact. They feel responsible for the safety, stability, and well being of others. Automatically, they're not even thinking about it, often before being asked. This makes Cancer deeply caring and deeply vulnerable to emotional exploitation. They often take responsibility for others' moods, wounds, and choices. Shadow enabling, guilt binding, and self abandonment, integration, boundaries as an act of self care. All right, I'm going to take a quick, I think I need some coffee. I'm putting in like 6, 7, 8 hours a day just doing this alone. All right, so Cancer, the protector. Moral weight profile, relational conscience. Cancer carries moral weight for people, not principles. Responsibility activates when someone they care about might be hurt. How moral weight lands. Cancer feels ethics as obligation to protect, sometimes even from reality itself. Strengths, deep empathy, loyalty, and care. Early detection of emotional danger. Holds grief without bypassing. Vulnerabilities, fear based moral fusion. Loyalty overriding truth. Taking responsibility for others' choices. Shadow, tribal moralism. Guilt binding. And protection used to justify control. So their shadow, what is it? I do study the four sides of the mind. And I think it's the subconscious or unconscious. What is it? Is it the superego? I don't know. One of those. Cancers have like, I think it's Virgo. They are just like, I'm sorry, I shouldn't, this isn't the video for it, but they can be very controlling, but it's because they care. Put it that way. All right. I'm not going to get myself in trouble. All right. Moving on. See ya. See you later. Not the video for this. Cancer. See ya. Love y'all. All right. So Libra next. It's taking forever. Oh, great. Verifying Libra. You got to be joking. I'm like an hour in. I really don't feel like splicing this together. Oh, praise goodness. There you are, Libra. All my best girlfriends in high school were Librians. Uh-oh. Oh, shoot. Now I'm getting... I just exited out, my bad. Oh, my God. Look at it. It's terrible. All right. Be professional. All right, Libra, the balance keeper. Ethics experienced as fairness and symmetry. Feels responsible for relational equilibrium. Strengths when moral clarity creates conflict. Struggles when moral clarity creates conflict. Strength, justice, orientation. Shadow, moral avoidance and appeasement. Integration path, choosing truth over comfort when necessary. Libras or ENTPs, the burden of fairness. Librans feel morality as balance. They sense injustice immediately, but they also feel pressure to preserve harmony on their own terms, FYI. Peace, how they would do peace. This creates internal conflict. Telling the truth may disrupt peace, but silence perpetuates harm. Libra often carries the moral labor of mediation, fairness, and emotional translation. Shadow, appeasement, indecision, and moral deferral. Integration, choosing justice over comfort. Libra, the harmonizer. Moral weight profile, relational balance, conscience. Libra experiences ethics as tension between truth and peace. How moral weight lands. Librans feel responsible for the relational field. Moral discomfort arises when harmony breaks, even if harmony was false. Strengths justice oriented, sees proportionality, mediates conflict, and prevents escalation. Vulnerabilities avoids rupture, outsources morality to consensus, delays truth. Shadow, people pleasing, passive conformity, moral avoidance. Integration, accept rupture as ethical necessity. Choose justice over comfort. All about their comfort. SI inferior, introverted sensing inferior is wicked. Wicked. All right. Integrated Venus equals harmony with backbone. So, in the beginning of their lives, they tend to not have a backbone and go with the flow. And then they kind of overcorrect that and become judge, jury, and executioner. All right. So, Pisces. We got one Venus ruled sign after the next. Pisces, INFJ, where are you? There you are. All right, so let's make this one bigger. My country is going to start coming out. All right, Pisces, the INFJ, the empathic absorber. Moral weight absorbed through emotional permeability. Feels collective suffering personally. Carries guilt for pain they did not cause. Strength, compassion, and forgiveness to an absolute default. Shadow, martyrdom, and boundary loss. Integration, containment without withdrawal. They are very introverted. They're very boundaryless. They are sponges. They soak up everyone's emotions and feelings. They feel morally weighted and obligated by it. Go with the flow, emotional type of people, have no idea how they feel. They care about how you feel. Eventually, they have really good, solid boundaries. This is extroverted feeling parent. So they will go from doormats to understanding boundaries pretty well. That is the goal here. All right, collective moral absorption. Pisces absorbs suffering. They often feel morally responsible for pain they did not cause and cannot fix. This makes them very compassionate and porous, like a sponge. Pisces often confuses empathy with obligation. Pisces, the INFJ, the mystic receiver, moral weight profile, absorptive conscience. That was rough. Pisces, INFJ, absorbs moral pain, often indiscriminately. Other people's emotions and feelings are not your responsibility. Has nothing to do with you. Dial it down if you need to, which you do, and I know you do. How moral weight lands. They feel responsible for suffering itself, not just causality. Strengths, deep empathy, spiritual sensitivity, holds grief without shame, symbolic insight. Vulnerabilities, boundary loss, savior narratives, and guru capture. Shadow, martyrdom, bypass, confusion framed as compassion. Integration, boundaries as sacred. Your own boundaries with others is sacred. Discernment as love. Don't forgive everyone all the time immediately. Some things are unforgivable, and Take your rose-colored glasses off. Integrated Neptune equals mysticism with clarity. All right, so we're moving into group 3. High susceptibility. So group 3, we're getting into high susceptibility with being morally captured. Alrighty, so where are we? Group 3. Oh yeah, I need to pull this up, don't I? All right, so we have Aries, Leo, Sagittarius, and perhaps Gemini. So we've got, who did I say? Leo, Aries, Sagittarius, so the fire signs. All right, so situational moral load actors. Morality lives in the moment. Gosh, my feet are getting freezing here. They weren't even covered. All right, so these archetypes experience ethics through action and context, not ongoing internal burden. High susceptibility. Belonging regulates the nervous system. So this group represents relational intelligence and emotional cohesion. These archetypes are wired for attachment, care, harmony, protection, and emotional attunement. They are not weak, they are social glue, but glue fuses. What their nervous system is doing. Their nervous systems regulate through connection, shared meaning, emotional synchrony, and safety through others. Isolation feels like threat. Disagreement feels like rupture. Belonging feels like oxygen. Why capture works here. Identity capture offers certainty, enemies, moral clarity, emotional containment, and shared language. It replaces internal regulation with group-based soothing. Belief becomes a shelter. Their cultural role. They function as caregivers, protectors, healers, mediators, and community stabilizers. No culture survives without them. Their shadow cost. When unintegrated, they become morally conformist, fear-driven, loyalty-bounded over truth, and emotionally coercive for your own good. This is where moral crusaders are born. All right, so we have Aries. Aries or the ESTP was actually my first book I ever wrote astro-psychologically. All right, Aries, here we go. I love you, Aries. I'm an Aries rising, 0 degrees. So when people first meet me, they get Aries. All right, so Aries, the immediate actor. Morality expressed through decisive action, feels ethical when doing, not reflecting, discharges responsibility quickly. Strength, courage, and protection, shadow, impulsive harm, and moral impatience. Integration path, reflection without paralysis. Aries is action-based ethics. Aries experiences morality through doing. They feel ethical when they act decisively, protectively, and courageously. Reflection often comes later. They're like the fool jumping off the cliff before looking or out of the airplane. This makes Aries effective in crisis and reckless in nuance. Shadow, impulsive harm, moral blind spots. Integration, reflection without hesitation. All right, so Aries, the initiator, moral weight profile, immediate action-based conscience. Aries carries moral weight in the moment of action, not in prolonged reflection. It sometimes feels wrong. If something feels wrong, Aries feels it as tension to act, to intervene, confront, stop, or move. How moral weight lands. Aries or ESTPs do not sit with guilt for long periods. but they feel intense moral pressure in the now. Their conscience activates as urgency. Someone has to do something. Strength will act when others freeze or rationalize, will speak when silence feels cowardly. High tolerance for confrontation in defense of truth. Most of the people I actually follow on YouTube are Aries, ESTPs. I freaking love them. They are the first to tell you the truth. They're very blunt and direct in their communication style. They are certainly crusading in truth in their many different realms. I just love the energy. All right, so high tolerance for confrontation and defensive truth. They're very debative, argumentative, good lawyers if they wanted to be, but they don't have the patience for that. I don't know. Some are educators. There's a lot in like military, police. Yeah. Can interrupt harm early. Vulnerabilities can mistake urgency for moral certainty, can act before ethical complexity is understood, prone to if I don't move, I'm complicit thinking. Shadow, moral impulsivity, escalation without strategy, turning ethics into combat. Absolutely. Integration, build, pause, capacity without losing courage. Learn that restraint can also be ethical action. Integrated Mars, protector, not reactor. All right, so now we're going to move on to Leo or the ESFP. I've got my cup in the way. Leo. I hope this ain't glitching out. I keep saying that, but it's like awful. Worst nightmare. All right, so Leo, the ESFP. All right, so the integrity performer. Morality tied to identity and honor. Feels responsible for being seen as good. Ethics linked to reputation. Strength, leadership, moral visibility. Shadow, performative ethics. Integration path, conscience, independent of audience. Okay. Integration path, conscience, independent of audience. Leo, moral identity. Leo experiences morality as integrity of self. They want to be good and be seen as such. This can produce honorable leadership or moral performance depending on integration. Shadow, virtue signaling, image based ethics. Integration, conscience, independent of audience. Leo or ESFP, the sovereign performer. Moral weight profile, identity based conscience. Leo experiences moral weight as a question of self honor. How moral weight lands. Leo asks, what kind of person am I being? Their conscience activates through identity coherence. Strengths, courage to be visible, can model integrity publicly, leads through embodiment, resist belief systems that erase individuality. Vulnerabilities, audience becomes conscience, shame, avoidance, confusing admiration with morality. Shadow, moral theater, grandstanding, rage when exposed. Integration, return conscience inward. Act the same when you're not being seen. Integrated sun, sovereignty without performance. Next, we have Sag. Sagittarius or the ISTP. Just trying to load. Really? Oh, there it is. Okay, good. Alrighty, Saggy. All right, Sagittarius or the ISTP, the meaning seeker. Morality framed through philosophy and belief. Feels ethical when aligned with a truth. Can offload responsibility to ideology. Strength, moral optimism. Shadow bypassing consequences. Such a big one. They do not see consequences for anything. Integration path, grounding belief and accountability. Sagittarius, belief-based morality. Sagittarius experiences ethics through meaning systems. They feel moral when aligned with philosophy, vision, or belief, but belief can become a shield against accountability. I'm going to do a whole video on this. I'm going to compare Sag and Aquarius in this realm. I've got a really good one going on. Like I'm going to that's a whole video in itself. They feel moral when aligned with a philosophy, vision, or belief. But belief can become a shield against accountability. Shadow bypassing consequence and moral outsourcing. Integration, grounding belief in lived responsibility. So the meaning archer. Moral weight profile, belief-based conscience. Sagittarius experiences ethics through worldview alignment, how moral weight lands. They feel moral when life fits a coherent narrative, but may bypass consequences in the name of meaning. So they throw themselves. They have Jupiter. Jupiter is the expansion of really gaining wisdom from lived experiences, and they tend to just throw themselves in situations they know that is not good. They discard consequences and they throw themselves in wild situations just to learn from it. Yeah. All right. So, strengths cuts through hypocrisy, high morale, seeks higher truth, natural teacher. Vulnerabilities, big idea intoxication, preaching before embodiment, humor as deflection. Very sassy, very witty. I do love Sagittarius. Shadow, ideological certainty, spiritual bypassing, freedom over accountability. Freedom is such a huge thing with Sag. All right, so integration, anchor belief and behavior. Embrace humility. Integrated Jupiter equals wisdom, not dogma. All right, so now we are on the last group here. I am freaking exhausted. Where is it? All right, let me exit this out. All right, group 4, distributed moral load adapters. Morality is modular, flexible, and contextual. Group 4 is the internal value capture. Externally resistant and internally absolutist. What this group represents, I'm sorry, let me pull up. Okay, so we've got Gemini and Taurus here in group 4. This is one of my favorite songs. I'm going to start it over. All right, so group 4, we've got what this group represents. So we have, what I say, Gemini and Taurus. This group represents depth, conviction, and existential meaning. They are not easily swayed by trends. They resist surface level capture. But once something passes their internal threshold, it becomes sacred. What their nervous system is doing. Their nervous system regulates through intensity, certainty, emotional truth, and total commitment. Half belief feels unbearable. Why capture happens differently here? Capture doesn't come from groups, it comes from internal absolutism. Once they decide something is true, wrongness becomes evil, disagreement becomes betrayal, nuance becomes threat. Their cultural role, they function as truth divers, taboo holders, transformation agents, and shadow integrators. They force cultures to confront what is buried. Their shadow cost. When unintegrated, they become extreme, unforgiving, controlling, and scorched earth moralist. They don't follow ideology, they become it. All right, so we have Gemini. All right, Gemini, where are you there? Try not to sing. It's such a good jam. Oh, okay. So it already popped up. Jeez. Okay. Like, where is it? There we are. All right. Gems. The ethical multiplexer can hold multiple. Okay. So it's Gemini or ENTJs. The ethical multiplexer can hold multiple moral frames. Responsibility is compartmentalized, low internal moral weight, high cognitive agility. Strength, perspective taking, shadow fragmentation, and inconsistency. All over the place. Integration, I've never seen. Like, Sag is all over the place. They're a hot mess, but Gems, man, they are all over the place. Integration path, consolidation of values. Gemini or ENTJ, multiple moral frames. Gemini can understand many ethical perspectives. This creates adaptability, so they are immutable in their temperament. Go with the flow. This creates adaptability and fragmentation. They may struggle to consolidate responsibility internally. Shadow, inconsistency, and ethical diffusion. Gemini, the split mind, also known as the twins. Moral weight profile, distributed. Distributed conscience. I can't even say it because it just makes me want to gag. Sorry, I'm the total opposite. Gemini is not bad. I'm sorry. I love y'all. Gemini carries moral awareness. Y'all, there's no one else more fun than a Gemini. Just saying. All right, so Gemini carries moral awareness cognitively, but struggles to consolidate moral weight emotionally or behaviorally. How moral weight lands. Gemini understands many moral frames simultaneously. So we do have introverted feeling inferior. So it's like very unconscious. Like their morality is like hardly there. They can dilute responsibility. If everything has a perspective, nothing lands fully. Strengths: sees contradictions quickly, resistant to ideological fusion, excellent moral translator, can expose faulty logic, vulnerabilities, difficulty committing ethically, uses complexity to avoid responsibility. Word salads. Slips into irony or detachment. Shadow fragmentation, moral relativism as defense, and intelligence replacing integrity. Integration, choose one value long enough to embody it. I'm trying to be serious. More move from analysis to alignment. Integrated Mercury, synthesis, not scattering. I'm sorry, I'm like yelling at y'all. Okay. Oh my God. All right, Taurus. Last one. We are gonna make it. Or number 2, Taurus. All right. Oops. Click on it. Like forever technical issues. Okay. We're doing it. I need to find that comedian. I need some comedic relief. I am going to find a comedian that I haven't heard in forever after this. All right. So, comedic relief. That's the end goal here. Taurus or ESTJ, the stability ethicist. Morality tied to preservation and continuity. Feels responsible for maintaining comfort and safety. Their own. Resist moral disruption. They are the wall. They're the boulder, the wall. Strength, dependability. They are dependable and consistent. They do love routine. Shadow, moral inertia. Integration path, adapting without collapse. And they're fixated in their temperament. So they are fixed on their own like their own comfort and practicality. All right. So, stability based ethics. Taurus experiences morality through preservation. They value safety, continuity, and sustainability. This stabilizes but can resist necessary change. Shadow, inertia, moral stagnation, integration, flexibility without collapse. Why high moral load people burn out? Oh my gosh. Hang on a second. Oh, okay. Wait a minute. What did I do here? I think, okay, I don't know if I put this in the wrong section. Yeah, I did. Oh, man. Oh, man. Hold on. I put this here instead of, I was doing so good. I was doing so good. All right. I was doing so freaking good. I made a little mistake and now I cannot stand myself. Okay. All right. Taurus the stabilizer, or ESTJ. Darn it. All right. So, moral weight profile. I'm not editing any of this. I don't even care if my face is frozen. You can at least listen if you want to. Embodied continuity based conscience. Taurus carries moral weight semantically. When something is wrong, their body knows discomfort, tension, fatigue, and resistance. How moral weight lands. Taurus or ESTJs feel responsibility as, can I live with this? Morality is not abstract. It's about what can be sustained without internal corrosion. Strengths loyal to long term commitments, resistant to moral panic and trends, grounds ethics in real world consequence, values preservation and care. Stewardship. Vulnerabilities can tolerate slow harm too long. So they are one of the most high enduring, as well as Capricorn, very high endurance for others, wildness. Vulnerabilities can tolerate slow harm too long, equate stability with goodness, avoids upheaval even when necessary. Shadow, moral inertia, staying in broken systems, comfort, rationalized as virtue. So they believe in the whole, oh man, I need to stretch. I've been here forever, so I should be in charge thing. Integration. They ask, what am I trading for stability? Integration. Ask yourself, what are you trading for stability? Allow ethical disruption without collapse. Integrated Venus, values that evolve. All right, Taurus, I'm done. See ya. All right, so I'm gonna go through the list one more time and then, I don't know, close this out in probably like 20 more minutes. All right, so the list. All right, so we have the archetypes and moral weight. So the archetypes that feel moral weight the most to the least: Capricorn, ISTJ, Virgo, ESFJ, Scorpio, ENFP, Aquarius, INTJ, Cancer, ENFG, Libra, ENTP, Pisces, INFJ, Aries, ESTP, Leo, ESFP, Sagittarius, ISTP, Gemini, ENTJ, Taurus. I always get ESTJ. I'm gonna double check myself. I still run through the list every now and then. It took me a while to be able to fire that off. ESTJ, Taurus. Okay. Awesome. All right. So, why high moral load people burn out? Here's the quiet truth: people who carry morality internally are often more reliable, more accountable, more restrained, and more consistent, which makes them targets for systems and relationships that externalize responsibility. They become emotional containers, ethical anchors, and unpaid conscience, and stabilizers of chaos until they break. Burnout is not failure, it is moral overload without reciprocity. Why this matters. When systems place high moral load archetypes alongside low internal load archetypes without clarity or structure, what happens is predictable. Burnout, resentment, moral outsourcing, power imbalance, and exploitation of conscience. The people who feel responsibility end up carrying it for those who don't experience it internally. This is how women overfunction emotionally. Principled people get used, and institutions collapse under moral debt. Why this matters now. So, modern systems reward group 3 emotionally, weaponize group 2, silence group 1, and radicalize group 4. That's how you get loud certainty, brittle morality, moral panic, and authoritarian drift. Oh my gosh, we just had a radio blackout. Space weather news. All right, so not because people are bad, but because the ecosystem is unbalanced. The core truth. What do we do? Have a massive solar flare? C-class solar flare. All right, awesome. I'm going to blame my non-internet issues on solar flares. All right, so the core truth. Resistance to identity capture is not virtue. Susceptibility is not weakness. These are architectural differences in how the self regulates to belief, belonging, and threat. A healthy culture doesn't eliminate any group, it integrates them. And when that integration fails, identity replaces conscience, which is exactly why this series matters now. The final integration, what this video is actually saying. Morality is not evenly distributed because human nervous systems are not evenly structured. Some people hold the line, some people translate, some people adapt, some people act, and some people absorb. Civilizations need all of them. But collapse happens when responsibility is invisible, moral labor is unpaid, and conscience is exploited rather than honored. The future does not need louder morality. It needs moral literacy, knowing what you carry, what you don't, and what was never yours to hold. So the hidden trap for high load archetypes. So the Capricorn. I really need to remember. My brain is fried. I am specifically talking to Capricorn, Virgo, Scorpio, and Aquarius. The hidden trap for high load archetypes. If morality feels heavy for you, this is not because you are weak. It is because your conscience is internalized. Your nervous system does not externalize harm. Your psyche tracks consequence automatically. But without boundaries, moral weight becomes self destruction. Integration does not mean carrying less ethics, it means carrying only what is yours. Moral weight is not evenly distributed. Some people carry conscience internally, some rationally, some structurally, and some symbolically. Collapse happens when those who feel responsible are expected to carry it for everyone. Collapse happens when those who feel responsibility. Oh, I just said that. I'm so sorry. Integration is not making everyone feel the same. It's knowing what you carry and what was never yours to hold. So, in closing, the quiet truth. Morality is not evenly distributed because humans are not built the same way. Civilizations need all of these types, but relationships, systems, and cultures collapse when we pretend everyone carries responsibility the same way, or when we exploit those who carry more. The work ahead is not moral purity, it is moral literacy. Knowing what you carry, what you don't, and what was never yours to hold. So, in the next video, we are looking at how moral weight becomes weaponized, outsourced, or avoided, and how sovereignty is reclaimed without hardening the heart. because the goal is not to feel less, it's to remain ethical without betraying yourself. All right. So, in the next video, we will move out of theory and into practice because understanding architecture without boundaries just creates empathy without protection. So, the arc here, we've built diagnosis, architecture, and responsibility. And now we're going to, after this video, we're getting into application and containment, not more theory. So video 6 explained why some minds resist capture. This video explained why moral weight differs. And the next video will be about how to live, relate, and protect yourself with this knowledge. And then after that, we will be building containers, personal, relational, and cultural. So we are building a coherent moral cognitive framework. All right, so I think I am done here. I was going to go into a whole heck of a lot more. The core lens in the next video will be about moral mismatch versus moral failure. The 4 most dangerous moral pairings, false integration traps, discernment without paranoia, boundaries as moral technology. So why the next video is critical because it will intellectualize the series over. Without video 8, people will intellectualize the series, over empathize, stay too long, and keep carrying weight that isn't theirs. So the next video will teach how to stop bleeding ethically without becoming bitter. And I am going to cap this video off here. I'm exhausted. I need to sleep. So hopefully you enjoyed this video. I was being a little bit all over the place and quirky. But anyways, feel free to leave your comments about your thoughts and feelings below. Check out my books in the description box. Please like and subscribe. I deeply appreciate all of you. And I will see you in the next video.